Thank you, folks, for joining us today. Hello and good morning, ladies and gentlemen, our speaker, subject matter experts, and all our guests today. My name is Ahmed Mohammed. I am your host for the PEEF Virtual Talk PVT series. The PVT is a series of interactive virtual talk sessions led by recognized subject matter experts across various industries and the economic sectors. The objective of the PVT is to share sector relevant knowledge, best and successful practices, to interact on development challenges and co-create practical solutions to solve problems and add real value to the quality of people living in our communities in Nigeria and Africa at large, and to also nurture a strong network of committed professionals for sustainable national development through practical application of ideas. To learn more about the PVT, areas of focus, and how to get involved, please visit our website for more information at www.peef-sdg.org. You can also find our contact information on the website regarding membership and how to participate. Last month, we had a great conversation and presentation with our speaker, Engineer Andy Izengwa, who led the discussion on TVET and drummed up a lot of interest that continues even today through our PEEF knowledge sharing network and chat platforms. The work continues in this area towards delivering solutions and action plans within this sector. We look forward to hearing the outcome in the near future. Today's PVT will focus on the agricultural sector. But before we begin, I would like to first introduce the chairman of the PEEF Board of Trustees, Engineer Alhaji Abdullah Bukar, to say a few words. Engineer, on to you. You're on mute, sir.
Thank you, Ahmed, and thank you to the Honorable Secretary and all the members and our audience. Thank you very much. I welcome you and say good morning, or good afternoon, or good evening, depending on which part of the globe you are joining us from. You are very much welcome and are very happy able to join us on this very interesting topic. Someone was actually asking me that, but I thought you used to be in the energy business, so why are you talking agricultural business? And I told you that's also part of the energy business, because that is how you energize the human being and all the other animals. So it is something that is actually extremely important, because without energizing the human beings, all the other activities would not happen. So it is still in the right track. So it is my pleasure to see that the PEEF is still doing things that are very relevant to society and will bring into focus important issues that we should take to improve the quality of our life. So it is important to see and go over the objectives of this PVT, as Ahmed has said, to understand the state of agribusiness in the country, to appreciate the issues that has resulted in us being where we are, and to see how we can do something better to improve it, and overall to do much better. And we need to understand who the key stakeholders are and then be able to approach them and try and see how we can work out a solution. If you remember, the agribusiness provides over half of the GDP for Nigeria. You can understand then why this is a very important topic and why people need to listen and why a larger audience is really necessary. And we need to see is the ramification of what we talk here and what comes out on ourselves, our country, the productivity, employment, and so on, not only for Nigeria, but for our neighboring countries. So to lead us and go through the discussion, we have got very good expert who has been through it, vastly experienced in and outside Nigeria, and he's going to try and lead us through this very interesting topic and see how we can access knowledge, we can access how to get out of it, we can assess what to do, and that we can keep on improving. On that basis, I say hand back to you, Ahmed. Thank you very much for chairing this event, and thank you very much for leading us through this very important discussion, and we look forward to a successful event. So again, thank you very much to all our listeners and to our members. And please let us begin. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Engineer. Certainly appreciate your words and encouragement and your continued contribution towards PEEF and its mission. Before I introduce the speaker or our speaker for today, I would like to cover a few housekeeping topics. Today's PVT is being recorded. We will be able to share a link with you after the event is completed if you have registered. It is also streaming live on YouTube. We do welcome you to visit the content yourself and share it with your colleagues. We also invite your comments and questions. Please use the Q&A chat box on your screen if you think you have a question for the speaker at any moment. Just type in there and I will pose it to our speaker at the time or hold it for the discussion portion of the PVT. During the discussion and final Q&A portion of today's talk, you may raise your hands and we will invite you as a panelist to ask a question or make a statement regarding the topic. Please make sure that you are muted unless you are called to speak. Those are just a few of our housekeeping rules for today. Now, a brief introduction of our speaker who will be presenting on the topic of agribusiness for social impact and why a community approach. Engineer Bayo Jekayinfa is the founder and CEO of Safari Cities Limited, a Nigerian-based entity with a primary focus on developing agri-led communities. Bayo is a civil engineer and an impact investor with a background in information technology, finance, and accounting, CPA certified. Bayo is passionate about helping people become better versions of themselves. Early in his career, he relocated to the USA. Bayo led World Bank-funded construction projects. He was responsible for building dams and roads to provide potable and irrigation water for farming communities in the Oyo North area of Nigeria. Bayo holds a master's degree in management and finance from Harvard University, a graduate diploma in accounting from the University of California, Los Angeles, UCLA, a master's in geotechnical engineering from the University of Lagos, and a bachelor's in civil engineering from Obafemi Awolowo University. As you can see, Bayo is certainly a subject matter expert and is willing to join us today to share a lot of his practice and knowledge. Thank you, Bayo, for taking the time out of your busy schedule to be with us today. Please join me in welcoming our guests. At this time, I'm going to hand the floor over to you, Bayo, so that you can start your presentation. It's all yours.
Okay, thank you, Ahmed, for the wonderful introduction, and thank you for the management of PEEF for organizing this event. Engineer Abdullah, I appreciate the comments that you've just made. I'm going to share my screen in a second. Let me just make sure. Let me share my screen and then I'll start with. Okay, so I'm going to start this session, and thanks to everybody for taking the time to join this knowledge sharing session. I appreciate your time. I'm going to start this session by sharing a little bit anecdote about myself. This is to cover why this topic, why the presenter, why me, why am I presenting? I'm going to give you a little bit background about my life. So I spent the first 2 to 3 years of my life with my maternal grandmother. She was a cocoa trader. She had sent my mom back to teachers training college to improve herself, while my dad was on a scholarship to study abroad, actually in California. The story goes that she put me on her back while going from farm to farm to buy cocoa every day. My father ended up training as an agricultural economist and making policies and planning farms for the entire Western region and Africa. As a matter of fact, he was a consultant in that field. But for some reason, I followed his work very closely, reading agricultural proposals, discussing policies, and even going to our family's small hobby farm with him during the planting season. With this background, I always find myself farming in one form or the other. wherever I am. During my youth service in Ikwo village, Anambra State, it was a really remote village then. I learned how to maximize the use of land. Also, while I was a young engineer working on World Bank projects in Igboho, Oyo State, I farmed with a friend of mine, engineer Raul Folaniyo. He was my immediate boss at that time. Today is the deputy governor of Oyo State. We cultivated over 70 acres of land, and that year we sold over $100,000 US of corn. I live in California now. I live on a 1 acre land and still have a garden and a small orchard in my backyard. So those experiences have been ingrained in me. They form the basis of a lot of things I do. So the gist of this is that while you can take the boy out of the farm, you may not be able to take the farm out of the boy. So that's a little bit about myself, background that is not printed anywhere. But let's get into the subject. The agricultural landscape in Nigeria is filled with a lot of untapped opportunities and a lot of seemingly insurmountable obstacles. I believe that this is where we can come in as individuals to lead the charge and unlock some of these potentials for the greater good of the country. So as part of this session, let me move this over. Okay. So as part of this session, we're going to go over some background content, current state of agribusiness in Nigeria, the issues and opportunity, summary of root cause. We're going to have some discussion in the middle, just about 15 minutes. And then we're going to discuss how we can harness the opportunity and why community approach. We're going to have a case study of the Safari Cities model, what we're doing in Safari Cities and how that relates, just sharing what's going on with what we're doing. Then we're going to discuss how can we change the narrative and how can you participate. Again, as we go on, if you have questions, you can type it on the screen, and Ahmed will facilitate that for us. So the background, we talk about a lot of opportunities that agriculture presents, and these opportunities could liberate African communities if we harness it. I think that's a known fact. A lot of people have talked about that. The advent of today's technologies and social networks also make it easier. One of it is us having this discussion. We are all in different continents in the world, and we're able to interact easily. We can leverage some of that technology to develop agri-led communities. That's a lot that has changed from where we were 10, 15 years ago that could enable us to develop our communities. The foundational inputs that are required to build financially successful communities are richly available in Africa. We have huge natural resources, arable land, we have superior weather. I live in California. California is almost a desert. And yet California is the largest agricultural producer in the US. So, but we have superior weather. We have also highly capable people. No matter what you hear on the internet, we have a lot of capable people in Nigeria, smart people. Yet over 70% of the African population live in abject poverty in the world's richest continent. That is a conundrum, and that still baffles me, that we've got to figure out a way to fix. The thesis of today's session is that how can the average Nigerian lead the way in unlocking the potentials that we discussed above for Nigeria and the African continent? What roles can diasporas play in developing agri-led communities and the economically rewarding solutions for such, and provide economically rewarding solutions for such communities? So at the end of this PEEF virtual talk, these are some of the expected outcomes that we are expecting. Participants will become familiar with the expanded opportunities in agribusiness and how to make social impact. And you pretty much make social impact, make profit, and still satisfy whatever your needs are. Understand the benefits of working together and collaborating with others to create larger, more sustainable entities that could mitigate social, environmental risks, transform the agribusiness landscape in Nigeria and Africa, create economic opportunities for all participants, especially the youth and women. See the opportunities to play a role of problem solver. Give back to the community that has given a lot to us, to the land that's given a lot to us, and profit from agribusiness all at the same time. So what's the current state of agriculture in Nigeria? Not going to go into all of the problems that we have. These are just some of the highlights and some of the opportunities. So we have at least 84 million arable, 84 million hectares of arable land. Less than 50% of this is in use. We have water, predictable rainfall pattern. As I said, California has, sometimes we don't get rain in Southern California more than a couple of days in a year. Billions of cubic meters of surface and underground water. Labor, we have huge population of labor. Over 150 million of us are aged between, 110 million of us are aged between 15 and 65 years. We also have huge consumer markets with unsatisfied demand. So we have, I mean, a lot of people who want to consume we want to feed them, but there's also a lot of demand. So those are the opportunities that are there. And I'll go to the next slide. On this next slide, this is a presentation by Nassau. Nassau is an arm of, for those who may not be familiar with Nassau, Nassau is an arm of CBN that's responsible for providing agricultural loans and facilities and encouraging the agricultural sector. So for those who are in agriculture, you might be familiar. For those who are not, Nassau has been provided with a lot of money. They've done a lot of study. They're supposed to be giving loans to us in the agri industry, and they are giving some, and we'll cover some of that as we speak on. So additional factors that are in favor of agriculture. So this was developed by them. The reason I'm sharing this is two reasons. We in our study also came with similar results or similar context of the opportunities. So it's good to quote somebody else that is also stating the same. We agree with what they're saying. So in favor, we have government policy that focus on agriculture. There's a lot of talk about agriculture by our government. So that's not, we can't deny that. Rapid population growth, local, regional, and global. Rapid urbanization, a lot of people are moving into the urban areas and living in the villages. Rising middle income. So some of the middle income is rising. I know some may be falling, but those are the factors they said. High supply deficits. So we have a lot of import that we import. After signature, this is African trade agreement that is signed. 5 trillion global food industry that we could participate in. Foreign trade policies, US-China trade wars could play to our benefit in Nigeria if we start to produce. In spite of skepticism by a lot of other people, several factors create a compelling business case for finance and investments in agribusiness in Nigeria. That is true. And as we go through this, is how can we harness some of these opportunities in spite of whatever environmental issues that we have. So current state continues some of the pressing issues. So we have low mechanization of agriculture in Nigeria. That's less than 5% of farm cultivation that is mechanized in Nigeria. So, and when I say less than 5%, even the 5% that is mechanized is really semi-mechanized. The people plow land, and that's they see the tractor on the farm, and then that's mechanization. There's a lot of missing components that is needed to really make land mechanized. So this 5% is an exaggeration. So that means that's 95% that is not mechanized. To me, this smells opportunity. Poor financing. Yes, there's high interest rates. There's also the loan duration mismatch, where you want the loan for 2 years or 3 years because of the kind of crop that you're planting. They want to give you the loan for 12 months and they want you to pay it back for 6 months, and then the high interest rates. Some of the high interest rates was brought down by some of the facilities that Nassau is offering, and some banks 9%, but still even that's high. But pretty much there's financing. There's a lot of reasons why there's financing problems. Land holding. To me, this is a big issue. The average farmer cultivates less than 2 acres. And those 2 acres are all over the place. It's not that they're cultivating 2 acres next to each other. So it's difficult to get anything done. They can't mechanize. They can't bring a tractor to their farm even if they have the money, but they don't even have the money. Poor supply of farm labor. Well, this is what we call is oxymoron. When I said there's a huge labor market, so it is often difficult to find farm labor. That's an understatement. I've had many practicing farmers says there's no farm labor. We practice, and I can confirm that as well. You can't find farm laborers, both skilled and unskilled. Farm security. We need to design for farm security. There's a lot of issues about security going around these days, and especially on the farm. So we need to figure out a way to design for farm security. Aging and apathy. So the younger generation are not able to embrace agriculture. They can't go to, they don't want to go far. I don't blame them because of the drudgery that is involved with agriculture, and how much are you going to make if you're doing the whole cutlass that is available to you. So everybody's either driving Okada, has moved to the city, or I just resign and do not. And the older ones are getting older and weak and can't do what they used to do. And so those are some of the pressing problems. We can sit here all day and talk more about problems, but let's talk about opportunities. So this is a Nassau slide as well. This is an example of agricultural commodity value chain opportunity in Nigeria. So you go around this circle. So we have dairy import of 1.3 billion per annum. We have 3.2 million metric tons of demand, of fish in demand, 2.2 million metric tons of local deficit for fish. That means we import fish. 4.7 million wheat demand, and 250,000, only 250,000 production. So we have to import 4.5 billion. To me, all of these are opportunities. The same thing with cassava. Cassava's estimated net worth is 8.4 billion by 2020. We can use that in substituting in bread, and this is about 254 billion naira of opportunity in that space. So we on a farm, we focused on cassava for some reason, which I will explain later. But those are some of the opportunities. I'm sure there's a lot more, but these are some of the opportunities. Now, this slide is important. Nassau, again, they've categorized farming into four sectors: pre-upstream, upstream, midstream, and downstream. A friend of mine shared this with me a couple of months ago, and I appreciate the way that this is divided. It's also good to align with government policy, even if you're in what you're doing. As we will talk about this as we go through this session. So the pre-upstream are those who are providing input, fertilizer, mechanization, tractor, research, extension agents, mapping agents. The upstream are the guys who are really doing the production on the farm, and either planting or cultivating crops or rearing poultry or animals. Then the processors are in the middle, and in the processors, there are a lot of service providers in there: haulage, aggregation, storage, transportation, packaging. Those are the sectors in there. All this slide is agribusiness. These are opportunities that are within agribusiness that, as you dig deeper, you find a lot of leakages, a lot of efficiencies that can be built in, a lot of services that can be provided in this sector. Of course, there are issues as well. If you're trying to haul, you have issues that you have to deal with in police police stops and other things that you deal with. So transportation, you have the same issue. Storage, you have the same issue. Pretty much, you have different issues, middlemen. So those problems, I see them as opportunities. And how can we harness them? This is where some of the community strategy starts to come to place. Downstream retailers, industrial processors, export brokers. Again, when you look at it, you start to see opportunities all along the value chain. Okay, so there's another slide, and Nassau's position is that this sector requires a lot, the flow of four major capitals: the finance capital, we talked about that, finance and technology capital, equipment capital, human capital. What I want us to pay attention to here is nowhere in here did they say hoe and cutlass capital. To me, these are sophisticated capitals and requirements that requires the best of us to provide these services. So when we start looking at farming or agribusiness and saying there's nothing in there, nothing in here that is needed, says hoe and cutlass or even farm. These are services that are needed to support farming that can only be provided by highly capable, organized sector and individuals. So at Safari Cities, we call this the 4 C's of opportunities. The capital as a C. So those are the 4 C's of opportunities. I'll go to my next slide. And the question here is, how can the Nigerian individual participate and contribute in these 4 capitals to make agribusiness profitable and help us develop our community, provide jobs for our youth? How can we participate? So at Safari Cities, based on our analysis we did, we summarized all the issues and opportunities. We summarized the root cause of all the issues to 4 main things. And no matter how we look at it, we feel that solving these 4 root causes will alleviate some of these issues and unlock a lot of the opportunities. So one of the big issues that we have is fragmentation of land. The other is fragmentation of demand. The other one is poor access to financing. And the other one is capital freight. I've talked about them briefly. Fragmentation of land due to inheritance and migration and different things. The average farmer can only farm maybe 2 acres, but not just that. Even if they want to farm more, they most likely don't even have additional land because all that land surrounding them belongs to their cousin or somebody else who is probably living in Lagos or Ibadan or in the cities or has moved abroad. So they are in that little land. It's difficult to mechanize such land. So, and if you want to do big agriculture, you may have to look really far. And sometimes the whole family will have to come together like what we are trying to do now and try to make that land available. So that land fragmentation is a huge issue. And we feel that one of the things that we have to do is reverse this trend and start to aggregate land in such a way that is amenable to mechanization in agriculture. We're going to talk about that mechanization a little bit. It's very impossible to really mechanize on small acreage, and it's all over the place. Fragmentation of demand, uncoordinated demand plus supply leads. I don't know how you look at this, but there's many ways. This leads to high input cost and excessive over 50% of harvest losses. So what's uncoordinated demand? It starts from the upstream, it starts from the mechanization tractors. Those who even say they have tractors. Yeah, let me sidestep that. Those who say they have tractors, yes, the tractors are really very old and non-performing, but really, how can a tractor owner really make profit? How can you buy a new tractor and get the required ROI if your customers are spaced 10 miles, 20 miles apart, or even 30 miles, and they don't get to demand your service in a coherent manner? Somebody may ask you to come to the east today, and then you do your work, and somebody said, oh, why don't you come tomorrow? Oh, no, I don't come tomorrow. Why don't you come over the weekend? I changed my mind. I'm not going to be there. I'm going for a party. So why don't you come the next week, about 50 miles away? And then you're all over the place. So that's even for the tractor. The same thing with the raw materials, right? The demand is just haphazard, that you can't really predict, and you can't make things efficient, and that leads to a lot of harvest losses. I mean, so we feel that needs to be fixed. Poor access to financings, we've talked about that. Even when those who get the loan, the timing may not be right. I want the loan to process and be ready in March, so that when April is there, the rain is there. I got the loan in May. Well, I will take it, but it's late. So if I use it, and the way they say I should use it, I will most likely lose. So that is another issue. Capital freight, you can look at. Can somebody mute? So capital freight, you can look at capital freight in many ways, but this is capital freight defined as all the money that you make, you carry it away and you take it abroad or out of the community. So we are familiar with how we've all taken all our national resources to Dubai and to other countries and to Europe, but let's leave that alone. That's not my immediate focus. Immediate focus is we all farm, those who farm, when we take the money away from that community and we take it to do something else in other places. So the farm that we're on is not developing, and we are not able to maximize even the profitability on that in that community. And if we start to address these issues, we stand to gain a lot, and this is some kind of what we're leading to as we discuss our model. So again, as Safari Cities, we believe solving the root cause of issues above hold the key to agribusiness profitability. Upstream value chain need to be completely reorganized. That's a big deal. We feel that the value chain needs to be completely reorganized. It's so disjointed, it's all over the place. And the way it is now, it doesn't matter how much money, how much loan you pump into it, it's not likely to yield good dividends. We need to reorganize completely and solve some of these issues. You can't mechanize. If you can't mechanize, there's no labor, so you are losing. I mean, we can tell stories of labor. We had a farm. I mean, we started about 100 acres in a pilot farm, and I think the first year, 100 and something acres. We planted cassava and some other. I think cassava was all we planted, and there was no labor to come and weed. If you don't weed, then you're in trouble. I have a friend who called me, he wants to plant 100 acres of maize. He can't, because who is going to weed it for him and who's going to harvest it for him? So again, we got to reorganize this whole thing, and we're going to talk about strategies that we feel can be used. So we call this the 4F analysis of root cause. So we talk about the 4 C's, and then these are the 4 F's. Okay, so at this point, we want to have just some open discussion. there's some polling questions that are out there that the moderator can post for us. Who is the modern day farmer in Nigeria? What is the top agricultural related business? And what is the most important tool / resource that the farmer needs to be successful? These are just questions. There's no wrong or right. It's just to seek, it's a survey to seek opinion and for discussion purposes. So let's give ourselves 2 minutes to go over the questions. Ahmed, did you want to?
Sure, thank you, Bayo. I think we did launch the question, the polling question. So if you're an attendee, you should be able to see this come up on your screen. Please do take the time to respond to the polling questions so that our guest speaker, Engineer Bayo, can address some of the questions and your responses. As Bayo said, we'll give you a minute or two to select the questions. I see some responses that are coming in. Thank you so much.
Yes, I see the video coming in.
We have about, we see the numbers going up. We should hopefully see a good amount of participation in this.
So I'll give you about another 30 seconds. I'm not going to stop it. I'll just put it in the background while I go over some of the responses we had to the questions that we sent out before the session.
Just so you know, Engineer Bayo, one of our participants indicated that they wish that there was a select all for question number 3.
that was strategic. That's a good comment. Yes.
Okay. So you said you mentioned Bayo that some questions that were sent out prior to this event, you wanted to say a few words about those questions.
Exactly. So I'm going to flip my screen just to a different slide. I will minimize this poll for a second. I'll take it over here. And I wanted to go, we received several responses, and I just wanted to acknowledge some of those who responded and some of the responses that they gave to the questions that surround working in communities. So we had about 5 questions. Question 1, I just quoted somebody. They all answered the questions. I'm quoting just one person. In a country where arable land is abundant, how do we solve the looming food security crisis and also reduce youth unemployment? Kolarolo, thank you for your responses. I don't know if you're attending now, but we appreciate you. Reintroduction of the farm settlement schemes / farm estate schemes in the 6 geopolitical zones in Nigeria. Similar programs was first introduced in the 1960s with the provision of basic amenities in those settlements. Yes, thank you for sharing this. I think this is a great idea. I think that when we looked at this, we felt that we as individuals can participate in these farm settlements. Some of the farm settlements are there. Well, why can't we go there and do what the government did in 1960? Why can't we provide service bigger and make it more developed and things like that? So those are some of the strategies, but this is a great idea. We believe that this is 60 years later, or how many years. There are many more graduates, many more doctors. We probably have only one PhD back then, or 2 or 3. There are many more people who have resources that they should participate in this. But this is good. Thank you for that. I have another question that was raised. What if we were to band together, pool our resources, develop a viable strategy for change, and create a new status quo? I have these 2 responses from John Da Silva. This combination looks like the formula to produce much needed paradigm shift in the Nigerian agri-sector. This will be great for the overall success of humanity, but greed will eventually cause a divide, as some people in positions of authority will misuse the privilege of service, while others at the lower end will feel cheated. This will eventually lead to envy and power tussle. I mean, I feel that it's good to share both sides of an argument. These are potential issues that that was being shared, and that when we see this, it's just to look at it from, okay, it's an issue. How do we solve for this issue so that we can unlock the potential of our community, of our country? How can we participate as individuals? This is question number 5. How can we participate as individuals in the development of the agricultural value chain to reduce the growing youth and unemployment? Dr. Rosemary Ukoroji commented, because entrepreneurs and employers of labor become entrepreneurs and employers of labor. Be innovative, enterprising, and excel in whatever fields you find yourself. Also train the trainees' attitude. We should also train the trainees' attitude. We should all have where people are willing to unleash their potentials and hand down valuable secrets of growth to the young ones to better their lives also. Thank you. So thank you, Dr. Rosemary, for this comment. I agree with you completely. And to the same question 5, Frank Ahul also responded, and Arowolo also responded. Youth can be encouraged to band together in form of a cooperative societies whereby resources can be pooled. Activities of bands will be easier funded and monitored. Banding will also create healthy competition and enhance understanding and unity among members. We're going to be talking about the advantages of working together and banding together. And these are some of the key advantages that Frank has highlighted there. Kola again said we can appreciate as individuals in the development of we can participate as individuals in the development of the agricultural value chain to reduce the growing youth unemployment by identifying an area of passion/interest along the value-added chain and key into it. It will be in areas of processing, storage, transportation, sales and marketing. However, the underlying factor still has to do with consistent government policy and creation of enabling environment that will prevent wastages and resources and loss of capital in all areas. I take this in. This is good comment, and some of what was said here is why we went into a model project. And yes, it is true that we need those consistent government policy, and some of us have been waiting for that for 40 years. And we're not sure that when that is going to come. So some of what I say these days is, well, we've got to start. And also, who is government? We are government. It's my cousin and your brothers that are in government. Sometimes when they see us start, momentum starts to move in the right direction. When we come together and we move in big numbers, momentum starts to come. So those are the responses that we got. Some of the responses that we got. Thank you. We appreciate the feedback.
Engineer Bayo, we do have at least one question that came in on what you've said so far. One of our attendees asked the question, Kasim Suleiman asked, like you rightly mentioned, access to finance is one of the major challenges against agribusiness in Nigeria, don't you think government through the NIR SAL should come up with a financing model that would give loans, say about 20 million naira to graduates who will in turn deposit their degree certificate as collateral? Through that, Kasim thinks that it will encourage youth to be self-reliant rather than look for government employment.
I do agree 100% with what was proposed. Some of what we have found along those financing, the program that they had this Anchor Borrower program, and they had, I think that was a popular one. I don't know, I think they might still have it, but they have a lot of other programs that doesn't even require them to put certificates down, and they will provide that funding if you show up. And I know that some things may not move as fast as it moves in some of the other countries or continents, but if you show up and you provide things that they want, people have benefited from those loans. However, when they give you that money, some of those problems that we have listed above consumes the money and you fail woefully. So I'm not saying don't give. This is the reason for some of these sessions to say, we got to participate and find a way to help reduce the risk all along the value chain to make whatever funding organizations like Nassau or any organizations across the world provide, so that we don't waste too much what we've been given and we can be more successful. I'll give you an example. The first year we started this pilot project about 4 years ago. I mean, we ran into a lot of issues, but one of the issues, we got the finance, and I'm going to repeat this from some of my classmates in high school, and about 40 of them in 4 continents put some money down and said, we like this program. So we got the first batch of the money that they sent. The people who own the land and lease the land to us saw that we cleared it, and they said, no, we want to sell all the land now. Well, we didn't have financing for that. That's one. Or there's no labor. Or you have the money, you don't have somebody who can plant. These are all issues that we've encountered. So 20 million, you're not going to eat it. Who's going to do the work? And who are you going to find the land? This is why we can't afford to sit on the sideline. There's a lot that we can do to make this 20 million go further or not just go to waste. That's my response to that.
Thank you. We should be ending the polling now also.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, let me bring that up. Okay, so launch poll. So I can stop the results of the poll and we just go over that. Actually, let me just share it. Yeah. So the question 1, who is the modern day farmer in Nigeria? We have the 44% of respondents says is educated, resourceful retirees with limited funding. I think that's a huge one. The 6%, yes, educated youth. 31% old, uneducated men and women with very little resources. Yes. And I have diasporas 0. And yeah, I have diaspora 0, educated, non-retired individuals with varying levels of resources, 19%. I think these percentages are great, and they look perhaps consistent to me. What I wanted to show here is these different groups, is there a way they can work together and take advantage of synergies between them? You have the 19% educated, non-retired, have resources. They need people who can manage the farm for them. They need labor. The youth are looking for work. Some of them don't have any money, and the old, uneducated have a lot of knowledge of the area. How can we pull all these people together into a pool and take advantage of synergies. Some of the financing issues that we think is there may even start to go away if we can have this organized, just what you're looking at here. And diaspora, even though it looks like 0%, it's not exactly zero. I am diaspora and I have a lot of friends who are diaspora. Of course, there are issues with diasporas participating. So I will respect to whoever put this, issues of trust, to make anything go. We know that. How can we solve that to help things? So these are some of the things that we need to think about that creates those opportunities and help us unlock the potentials that we have. What is the top agricultural related business? Produce marketing. Yes, I have 63%, agri-processing 19, financing 0, yes, equipment rental 6%, equipment sharing, I've never heard of it before, 0, I agree. Real estate building services, storage 13%. Yes, I think this probably represent what the reality is. Again, we're looking at synergies. We're looking at how can we make things happen. We're looking for example, we're looking at how can we make equipment rental help with the financing? How can we have strategies around that will make equipment rental? I mean, look, the guy who wants to rent equipment also wants to make money. There are ways that we can use that to stimulate financing in the industry. Why do you park your equipment? It's not doing anything throughout the year because somebody didn't have enough money. Is there ways that we can trade by barter like they used to do in the old days? I know there are risks along all that, but can we organize it? Can we make those happen? Those are strategies that that we can bring in place. Financing, how can we unlock? How can we mitigate risks and bring in more financing in a more sustainable manner? Okay. What is the most important tool that a farmer needs to have? I have 6% raw land, 6%. The winner here is agricultural financing. I agree. Or there's a 44% input fee. Those are the big issues in the agricultural industry. Awesome. Thank you for voting, everybody. I'm going to move this off the screen, and I'm going to go into the next session. Okay. Okay. So harnessing the opportunities. Why community approach? I'm going to go over high level. Some of you will be mentioning. So what is community approach? In a community approach, you engage the community by providing solutions to the farmers. You leverage shared services concepts to provide economic opportunities in the rural areas, to profitably integrate technology into agriculture and introduce superior process flows, provide economic opportunities for youth and women in a sustainable but profitable manner. That's a lot of words, but and what are the benefits? Stimulates the creation of middle-class consumers through agribusiness, incredible opportunities to scale, reduce duplicated effort, mitigate risks, improve capitalization of land through co-located processing and real estate development. I was reading the book by one of the Nobel Prize winners in economics, and he said the reason why we're unable to come out of our poverty in Africa is that we're unable to capitalize our land. This hit me. This was in one of my case studies when I was back at school. And this hit me. This was in the context of the class, but it hit me that my grandfather's land 50, 60 years ago is still wherever it is and probably hasn't gained a dime in its value. And we're saying we are now rich. Have we been able to capitalize that land, develop it? And whereas here, I will buy land, I will build a building on it, and in no time, that land that was $500 will become $5 million or $10 million. We have the same even in some areas of Nigeria like Lekki. So we have models to follow. How can we pull all of that together and start to unlock this potential? Start to use even that to bring financing onto the project. So those are some of the strategies. Enable the commercial possibilities of add-on services like irrigation, solar electrification, water, and entertainment, and more. STEM, rural to urban migration. I mean, the strategy here is, look, if you are able to create a community of farmers that is more than just you farming in your own little spot, then you start to be able to say, why don't we provide irrigation as a service? Why don't we provide solar electrification as a service? Why can't we provide water as a service? You can't provide this as a service to yourself alone, but there are many of those farming groups that will be happy to pay a penny or two or a few dollars as a service because they cannot afford to bring the solar themselves. But if you don't have a community that you pull together, how are this possible? So those are the questions that we can ask ourselves. Those are the opportunities that we can have. And so those are how we can invite superior skills and get superior flows in the community approach. I'm going to go over this a little bit as we go through the case study of Safari Cities. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about some of these points that we raised here. And you'll see how that is ingrained in what we're doing. Okay, so the commercial communities of community approach, it can create jobs, capitalize and stimulate local economic activities, increase money multiplier factor within the community. What does that mean, money multiplier? So I brought in 50,000 naira for farming, and in that farming, I hired services into the community. So I paid somebody for the services, but we also sell food, so they ate in the community. So that money is going around 2 times. Can we increase that? Can we sell land to them if we make them viable? Can we sell land to them so that money stays in the community? Can they build in the community and hire somebody else? So that money might go around 4 or 5 times in the community. So if 5,000 that was brought into the community will become 250,000, or 1 million will become 5 million of money within that community. So that's the effect of that. And I put this picture a few days ago as a step. It's a process. You go step by step, even though it also goes in a loop. So these are some of the commercial possibilities. Mechanization. If you pull people together in a big community, mechanization becomes possible. Whatever we need to do along that, we call something land aggregation. Aggregate the land. Don't do 2 acres, don't do 10, don't do 30. Why don't you find 1,000 acres? Why don't you find 2,000 acres and change the processing strategy? And mechanization now all of a sudden becomes possible. A lot of tractors in Nigeria, I have to say this now, are 30 or 40 years old. That's how they were bought. After those it's been used 30 or 40 years abroad, they buy it, unfortunately, almost at the price of the new one. And so you're already on the last leg before you started. Then you don't have services in an organized manner, so you can't even maximize on what you can make. Financing services, that services that you can bring in, irrigation services, as I talked about, solar, as I talked about, potable water, as I talked about. Every one of us will go, you dig your own well 10 miles away, I dig mine 1 mile away, half a mile away, everybody dig their own little wells or a borehole, and we provide our own services. It's really a waste of resources. Can we pull that together and dig a huge borehole and get the water in a better manner and provide it as a service to those group of farmers? Even it doesn't matter whether you're rich or not, you are there to do one service. You're not there to provide electricity or water. So you'll be happy to pay for that. So if you pool resources, then we start to integrate and create opportunities where none seem to exist. It's not as if there's no demand for water. It's not as if there's no demand for solar. If you do co-processing, then solar becomes very viable because, and we're going to show some of this, solar as a service, right? So I can provide the services of solar to those who need electricity in that village and for processing. And if you're processing, you need homes, right? You can't be going from Lagos to process. And people do that now, travel 50 miles away. Why can't you build good homes, good houses in that area? So land value addition, we talked about that, real estate development services, and entertainment, even entertainment. There are themed events that you can do. I used to go to Mexico a couple of years back with my family, and we go to this rural area where we call resorts. And I'm thinking, this is not different than my village somewhere there. They take me on a zip drive on a tree that they put rope across. And so we can integrate penchant for Owambe services and create team events in some of those villages. There's agri-tourism that can be done, but this can't be done by those farmers who have no resources. We have to come together. I have to bring my entertainment specialists who know how to invite everybody. They can bring money into that community, and we can use that money with M1 multiplier to make things happen. This is all theory, right, that we've been talking about. But if you go away from theory, you align these services, you can start to get what we call the virtuous circle, where things start to gel together, synergies start to work together, and money start to get made in ways that we've never seen before. And we start to create, most of us who are in the educated sector will want to provide this service. In fact, we provide these services. Everybody wants to do real estate. So who? If you don't have work, if you don't have means of opportunity of making money, you can't sell your real estate profitably. Whereas there are people who need homes, there are people who are willing to, so we got to think out of the box and pull this together. Again, we don't have to wait for the government or banks or whatever. I think there's a lot we can do to start, and then those other things will come on. So that's our thought process. So we have this virtuous circle that keeps going around and everything keeps growing. Okay, these are stages of community. Okay, I'm past my time, but I'll go over community stage 1 to 5, aggregate land, pool farmers, expand mechanization, perform value addition, and then distribute products to local market. So we need to completely reorganize value chain. We talk about that. Start with streaming the upstream sector. Okay. So we could talk about Safari Cities model. We came into the market. Again, Safari City is a for-profit organization. It's not an NGO, but we focus on social impact, and we believe you can have social impact in our communities and also make profits, bring people together and let everybody make something out of it. So we focus on vertical integration, mechanization and equipment sharing, demand aggregation. Some of those problems that we highlighted: community development, member farming financing. There's strategies that we can do within communities to just stimulate financing. We can talk about that. Information technology, we have an information technology platform to kind of make all of this work together. So we're a solution integrator that provide economic opportunities for youth and women by leveraging vertical integration and equipment sharing strategies to create economically sustainable agri-led communities in our rural areas. Our primary goal is to improve profitability and well-being of the smallholder farmer. Safari City is the commercial profit-seeking organization with a focus on social impact. This is a big picture. I've kind of talked around it. After we're bringing technology, a technology platform, and some catalytic financing, and then agribusiness, pulling that all together and leveraging equipment sharing strategies to create a profitable ecosystem. This is REIT land development, is real estate investment trust strategies that we can bring in to capitalize the land. So some of the money that's coming out of here can be used to further develop the farm and agri-processing. If your land has value, if you build homes on it, the value goes from 100 Naira or $100 to several thousands or millions. And it helps with the financing as you go forward. Can we pull all of that together? That's what we set out to do. What we did. Okay, this is kind of the platform strategy. We have a platform. We bring people in, service providers in as trading partners, and the harvesting trading partner, the equipment trading partner, the processors, and we'll bring the bank in, because whatever we're doing here is supposed to reduce the risks. And because we're pulling the communities together, it's easier to go to a bank to say, we need loan for 100 farmers, and some of the risks that you know is been taken care of. And let's talk in terms of 5 billion instead of talking in terms of 500,000 or 550,000. So that's kind of what we set out to do. We're still in an infancy and we're still working on it. It's one day at a time. And we'll go through some of the issues that we found and where we are with that. So, here is the kind of flow of virtual circle flow. So we create a sustainable smallholder ecosystem. We just hired a guy to help us with aggregating farmers and land. We started our process of company about activities on the ground about 4 or 5 years ago. Then we go to value addition ecosystem, and then we create a connected community using a platform software. The first one is the first group are youth, women, women and access smallholder farmer profit funding and technology that we bring together. Again, we want this to flow as a process. We plant, we weed. We want to be able to structure this as if it's one continuous land. So get 1,000 acres of land. That the last contract we signed on land. We're still very young. We're starting a new location from a pilot site now. We just signed a contract for 2,500 acres that we're going to take what we've learned over the last few years and put it into play, pull people together and use some of the concepts, get people who have mechanization and as trading partners and bring them in. One of the problems we found that was for the tractor, they have old tractors and they don't even have any of this equipment. The first year, I think we had to go to Ilorin from Ogun State to go and borrow some of these things, and transport and everything made that even not viable. But we are focused at least initially on cassava, but we can branch into other products as we prove the concept. So the idea is to be able to, after cultivating on the land, put processing in there, build structures that could house multiple processing. Cassava can process over 40 products. So we're looking at small businesses to come and do processing, and we kind of aggregate them to have the effect of a big business. Theoretically, this is on the farm, and we'll have a supply that will supply this cassava to many processors on the same co-located area. Look, if we are able to accomplish this, and we feel we can, that means we've developed real estate, and you know what that means. That means we have solved some of the demand flow, fragmented demand. And again, we are looking to create a repeatable model that can be used across the country. We are not saying we're the only one that need to do it. If you want to join, if you want to do yours, take this and go take it and go make it happen. We'll be happy to share information. So the possibilities when a community approach is adopted, these are some of what I've been describing. Imagine this is 5,000 acres that is expandable, and all farmers have access to everything that they need, because in between us as individuals, we can pull this together without even calling much of the government. And when you see that, it's easier for people to come and help. I'm not saying government doesn't have its faults, but I've done that for 40 years and I'm done. We just have to figure out what we need to do. And there are a lot of people like me. So our product offering, again, we focus on the cassava value chain to start. This was a farm about 5 years ago, or 3 or 4 years ago. Cassava processing can be processed into 40 products, equipment sharing services, engaging our trading partners to provide services. Again, when we tried the tractor people, we found that there was limited implements, there was inefficiency in some of the tractors that was brought. So making it easier for agribusiness to be profitable, creating a reusable model. So we solved this equipment problem back in, we went to China to talk to some manufacturers. So back in 2019, we got into some contract arrangement to create our own brand of farming implements and tractors. I'll talk about that in a second. Oh, actually, it's here. So because we couldn't find good equipment around, we decided, okay, let's start a brand of our own tractors. So the first was, we started this like 2-3 years ago, but the first set of equipment arrived about 2 months ago, eventually. Last year was out because of COVID. So we have Safari tractors that we are launching in the market. For the first 2 years or 3 years, we're not going to sell it. The ones that we bring in, we're going to use it for our equipment sharing strategy on sites. Again, we're still in our infancy, so we're not like all over the country. The first land that we had was 1,200 acres. We had some drama in there, but we're still there, and we're using this to prove the concept. And we have 2 additional sites that we're starting this year. One of the things that came up during this is, as we brought, see this picture of this guy. He's a youth helping us to pull all of this equipment together, because they were brought in pieces and parts. We had nobody on the ground that knew what some of these things were. They didn't know what this was. They didn't know what this was. They've heard about this, but they have no idea how to pull it together. The reason I'm saying this is the last talk we had was TVES, Technical Vocational Education. Well, this is kind of how you can start to simulate. Yes, we paid people for this. We said we want to do agriculture, and nobody on the ground that can do this. Well, they can't do it if there's no demand for it. So when are we going to start doing this as individuals? This didn't cost an arm and a leg, some of these things. The tractors costed some, but I'm sure there are ways that we can pull that together. We also think equipment, if you 60–70% of the money that's needed for farming is on this equipment. So like I said in the beginning, why can't we come into an arrangement where some of this can be on credit for the farmers to alleviate some of the financing issues? And then we bring some of the other farmers who are ready to pull in some money. I believe we can do something. We're working on that strategy to do that. So the possibilities, okay, so the service was introduced to solve the suboptimal mechanical offerings. Market is full of old, antiquated equipment with roughly with plow only. So in addition to this, we created, I think we had a website for this. Again, we're not selling yet, so this is our website for that service of agri-tech cultivation equipment, and we're going to keep branding what we feel is important for the market. So we're on the ground, we're farming, but we feel what we need to mechanize, and we'll figure that out, and then we'll brand those products as appropriate. Again, one of the differences about this tractor is I get so pissed off when I see those 30-year-old tractors without a cabin on top of them. So we decided any of the tractors that we bring must have a cabin and must have air conditioning in them. We make that choice. Any choice, things that you do, you made that choice for yourself. If you're going to attract other people to the farm, we believe this kind of service is important. Anyways, so that is on the mechanization. Okay, that's that site. And again, this is our guys in 2018, some of the youth that we worked with in 2018, just during a pilot process. And take note of this guy. This guy was one of them. We had to bring them from all different areas of the country because there was no local, we couldn't find anybody local in this community. And the owners of the community, the villagers told us, our youth are not into this kind of stuff. Maybe if you show them good cause, they will participate. A couple of years later, this is that same guy on the side here. He's a site manager now. This is the container when the equipment arrived a couple of months ago. Him unloading. He's married now. I feel kind of honored to see growth of this kid from who he was a couple of years ago with no job, being here. Can we do more of that? Can we work together to create those kind of opportunities for these people and also benefit in the process? This is ours in the 2018. This is people planting with hoes and cutlasses. We did a study before we started. We studied about 5–6 years. People studied. We commissioned people from Harvard. We commissioned people from UC Berkeley to come up with a model for us. But when we hit the ground, everything that we thought we were going to do, we couldn't find planters. So people had to plant with their hand. The same cutlass and hoes that I thought I would never have to do. Well, this is what we did. Well, this year, We are getting mechanized. This is a cassava planter. This is a weeder. There's none of this in the Nigerian market that I know. And we said, I don't even know what to say at this point in time. But why can't we do this? I don't understand as individuals. Why do we need to wait for government to do this? I don't understand either. Again, I'm not saying it's easy, but can we come together? Can we pull this together? This doesn't come at a cost and arm and a leg. The possibilities, equipment sharing services. So if you pull together, and if I am able to get 2,000-3,000 acres and pull people together, the mix of farmers that you guys saw in that slide, I believe we can provide the services. The people who have capital, it's nothing to put to rent services, but they're looking for services, like my friend who wanted to farm 100 acres, who has no services, will be happy to come here and join this farm. These guys will be happy to take 1 acre or 2 acres, and they get the services that they will never have gotten if we don't do this kind of service. This is one of our new locations. This is Capital Freight at its best. These guys offered us at least 100 acres to start, and they have a lot of land in the area. But this is the best structure in the whole area. And this is where the food comes out. I believe that we can begin to change our narrative. This car and this bike are not theirs. These are my people who went to the site to go and talk to them. In our current farm, this is a kind of the structure we're putting together for to house some of the staff. But when we do processing, can we build something like this? I don't see why we cannot. And can we start to build homes like this on this kind of land for the people who are working, who we've enabled to be able to make money one way or the other, whether they're middle income, whether they're youth? Can we start to do this? We have everything that we need on the ground to do this. I always worry, why do I need to go to America to get a loan to plant corn in Nigeria? Don't answer that question. It's a rhetorical question, because we have all the inputs. How can we make that work? That's kind of the context of communities that we've come about. Possibilities when it comes with the community approach is adopted, this is all possible. To me, in our vision, this is a vision of that cassava mall that I displayed 10 minutes ago. It's not going to be a slap down. If we can't do this ourselves, then nobody's going to do it for us. That's our own strategy, and we're targeted to doing that. Next steps, this is kind of the last 1 or 2 slides. Consider participating in agribusiness in Nigeria with a view to profiting and making social impact. Landowners, we need large contiguous land parcels. Understand and work with us, and there can be a win-win arrangement that can be made instead of leaving that land fallow or letting it be taken over or encroached. Work with us and let's start to create some of these things on the land. Follow Safari Cities on Instagram. We are at Safari Cities, and consider providing your services on the Safari platform. Establish processing facility at the Safari Cities location, or you can pick any other location, but aggregate land, aggregate demand. That's my advice. And do co-location process on the land. Don't take it to Lagos, or I'm nothing against Lagos. There's a lot of benefit by doing it on co-processing. Volunteer your knowledge and services where it's possible. You may learn a lot from it. A lot of people you're going to be seeing in a program did start by volunteering, and they have volunteers and services up till now. Start partnerships with professional organizations like NSC, strategic partnership with professional organizations like NSC, APWEN, and PEEF. These guys have access to government, to farmland, and are able to talk on behalf of organizations like this to make things happen. So these are some of the possibilities that are there. For example, they could go to a state and say, we have this program, we're supporting it, and okay, why don't you find land and clear the land, let them bring their equipment. I mean, there's a lot of things that can be done. We need to start getting this country moving in and do our own little parts. That's, again, I'm not saying we can blame government, I'm not saying we should, but I believe that we can do stuff, get some things done. I mean, read the credits. I want to thank a lot of people, but some of the people I've listed here. Ahmed, I want to thank you for going over these slides and helping me do some corrections. I appreciate your time. That's the moderator here. And this is Safari. I want to thank my Safari City co-founders, Engineer Fumilola Jelade, FNSC, the president of APWEN, South Salman is an impact investor here in the USA that invested some money with us. Dr. Jai is the chairman. I want to thank him as well. And thanks to GCI 75, GCI is Community College Ibadan. These are my classmates back in high school. They're all over the world now. About 40 of them came together and gave us some seed funding. Again, the reason this is important is that there are sources of funding that we can tap. And these guys trusted enough to say, okay, look, Bayo, what you're trying to do, we like it. And we have incoming Safari City board members. We haven't fully inducted them, but they've been contributing anyways. Engineer Razak Aruna is in US and he lives in Texas. And if you think diasporas cannot be the farmer, he's also starting something big, but he's also sharing knowledge with us and helping us with a few things, including blockchain technology that we're trying to bring in as part of the platform. Engineer Tiki Olatinwo, Tafik Olatinwo is a member of PEEF as well. And he's been sharing information with us and working with us. We welcome them as our board members. So this is oh yes, these are some pictures from a couple of years back. This is our chairman, this is myself, this is Engineer Jelade, and these are some consultants that we had then. We still work with them, Sholadeke, and this is an old friend of mine. He was GM for Folawio Farms for 16, 17 years. And he's working on his own now, so he works with us and help us put the structure together to just make this all happen. This is on-site farm supervisor, and this is a youth guy that Ayo has actually helped us a lot in putting things together and getting youth engagement and putting his idea, so managing them. So that's the end of my presentation. I know I went over my time, but I appreciate you guys listening. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you so much, Engineer Bayo. There is a lot of, you've given a lot of really great information here, and we've had some really engaging and interested participants who are eager and ready to join you in the session. I know as part of this PEEF virtual talk, the purpose is to engage the audience as well as share your area of expertise. Before I begin to identify some of the participants who have expressed an interest to chat with you a little bit, I would like to also know one thing. You do have a second poll that you wanted. Did you want to share that now, or did you want to share that later? I would also like to invite another special guest to join you once we open this up for a broader discussion and also some questions and answers.
I think we should share the poll now. So when we do the questions and answers like we did the last time, people can respond to the poll.
Sure. So I think we just shared the poll. So please take a look at the poll. But while you are looking at the poll, I will also take this opportunity to introduce a guest speaker who will hopefully engaging with the audience. This guest speaker is Engineer Fonlola Ajelade. She is a fellow of the Nigerian Society of Engineers. She's also the president of the Association of Professional Women Engineers of Nigeria. It's an umbrella body for the female engineers in Nigeria with a membership of about 3,000. She was the chairman of the Abuja chapter of that association from 2011 to 2013. Her invaluable work and impressive projects of the association during that period earned her the reputation of the first ever Apwan brand ambassador in October of 2014. Outside of Apwan, Funlola is also a manager of the Industrial Waste Management of Nigerian Security Printing and Minting PLC, which is the sole manufacturer of banknotes in West Africa. In addition, she is also the co-founder of Safari Cities, a for-profit agricultural for social impact company, as we know and as we've heard from you. She holds a master's degree in business and management, finance track from Harvard University, a bachelor's and master's degree in chemical engineering for Obafemi Awolowo University and University of Lagos, respectively. She's a chartered engineer, registered with the Council for Regulation of Engineering in Nigeria, and a fellow of the Nigerian Society of Engineers as well. In fact, I would like to congratulate her in recently being awarded for the Derek Buck Public Service Prize by Harvard University in recognition of her creative initiatives in community service and longstanding record of civic engagement. I'd like to invite Engineer Falonla to the panelist view so that she can join us in this conversation. I think you can stop your presentation too, so that we can have the audience can have a broader view. I would like to also remind the audience that please do raise your hand if you're interested in coming on as a panelist or have a conversation with our speakers today. We're certainly happy to invite you over. Some folks have asked some questions in the Q&A. I know Tawfiq did ask a question. I can certainly ask that question, Tawfiq, or if you would like to join the panelist view and also participate, I'll be happy to add you to the platform as well.
Yes, that would be a great addition.
Thank you. Fumilola, welcome to this PEEF virtual talk, and thank you so much for joining us today. While we wait for the audiences to indicate their interest in joining the conversation, would you like to add a few words to Engineer Bayo's presentation today? Let's see, I'm not sure, maybe she. Well, while we wait for her, Bayo, let me ask a question here that Tawfiq asked. I haven't seen any hands raised yet, but I'm sure people are. Oh, hold on a second. I think I do see actually a hand raised. If our IT person can actually add that person to the screen, but I will ask the question for Tawfiq. Thanks, Engineer Jekayinfa, for the wonderful presentation. You mentioned that pulling resources together is one of the solutions. What is the maturity level of data information on the agribusiness in Nigeria? How could people interested in pulling resources together get access to available agribusiness data and information? And do we have the platform to pull resources together, create or capture and share values?
Great question. I think there's a lot of information around that are not necessarily consistent, so you got to take it with care, and it's not centralized as far as I am concerned. But to me, that's really some of the opportunities that are there on taps, that we can bring resources, high-level resources that are trained locally and abroad to bring to bear. What was the second part of the question again, Ahmed?
Sure. The second part of the question was, how can people interested in pulling resources together get access? And do we have a platform to pull the resources together, or create or capture and share the value?
So again, to me, that's also opportunity for people to create that. We have created one that came out of an issue or failure that I had in my business here a couple of years back, where we developed a software for USDA, United States Department of Agriculture's program in school nutrition, and our private equity deal fell out. So I decided I'm bringing this home. So we have repurposed that software. I brought it down a little while to add some functions to it, but the idea of that software is to pull this. Again, this is a marketing slot, not necessarily so you can create one. We don't feel, some people are trying to create different ones, and we're going to all meet somewhere and pull this together and make it work. So you can create one, or you can join a site on one of the, you can join a platform in one of the ways, go to safaricities.com. But yes, that's really what I will answer that.
Excellent. We've got Adetona also, who has just joined us as a panelist and would like to either ask a question or make a contribution. Adetona, would you like to go ahead?
Okay. Thank you, Engineer Bayo and the others for support. My comment is just why polling or why coming in to invest, we should take pay special attention to the peculiar situation we have. That's the local environment. I've had experience where we bought some tools and bringing it down to the farm, you find that it does not suit the exact purpose. For example, over there, the Chinese or Americans, when they make the thing, they don't have the seasonal flooded areas we have. They don't have hilly, maybe rocky terrain. So when buying planters and things like that, they need to be customized. So before we import or spend so much money, there's need to get possibly a model that is working and suggest the necessary amendment to make it work so that we do not import and discover that it doesn't work locally. Thank you.
Yes, make a small comment, Mr. Layton. That's a very great point. I will agree with that 100%. We have and had the same issues, and but because of what we are trying to do, we did enough research, and at the point in time, we just had to bite and say, go bring your first set and sample. We didn't buy a whole bottle. Even a tractor, you remember I said we're not going to sell it for 2 years, for 3 years, even though it looks nice, it's new and all of that. We're going to test it. So I agree with what you're saying, and we're going to follow that. Some of what we brought may not do the work. The weeding one, there's nobody who is focusing on weeding in Nigeria. So we're destined to just corners and holes. So we're bringing some tools, and we're going to have to test it, modify it, and do the testing on it, and then move forward. Thank you for that comment.
Thank you. I think we lost our special guest here, but I'd like to invite Engineer Abdullah Bukar. He did ask a question on the platform, something about an activity that's happening in Jigawa State. I'm not sure if he is willing to share some more with us on that particular question. Thank you, Engineer.
Thank you. The model you presented, I believe some companies presented to quite a number of communities. And the one I was referring to, I think they were trying to grow maize or sugar, I can't remember, and one of the local governments in Jigawa State, because if there were, I don't know that there was anybody here who knew a bit more about it, because they bring forward some of the potential issues that have to be handled when you go into community farming. I think someone wanted to go and do the huge farm along the river, Yobe River, and they got the communities lined up, and then after some time it became more like an action, political action committee, when people say, well, yeah, you are taking our land away from us, you are employing a little bit of people, but then what do we do with ourselves? Because this is our livelihood. We don't want to go to the city. We don't want to go anywhere. So is there any way you can accommodate us? And those will bring some of the things that have to be handled by whoever is coming to set up such institutions. I was hoping that there's someone here who knew. I haven't been able to find out where they landed, but this was going on for about a year. And I don't think the project has taken off because they haven't been able to solve. So this is one of the pitfalls that maybe Engineer Bayo will help us hear how they were able to solve it and getting the sort of land they were able to access.
Thank you, Engineer Abdullah. I think that's a very great example case study that you just itemized. Again, we didn't cover everything, but we did as much as study. I think I started this in 2009. We did a lot of study, 6-7 years. Some of these scenarios we found. So one of the things that we put in our design is there are two things. First is if we have a policy, we're not going to acquire more than 10 to 20% of the land that we're farming on. So we want to engage in a community that want to participate. And we don't want it to participate as laborers or as staff. We want to, what you call, empower your youth or your farmers. So we want to raise agripreneurs. So that problem that they were raising is where we started. We told them point blank, this is what we want. We want to engage your youth. We want to develop them. We want to train them entrepreneurially. We want to make them their own business people. Not everybody can be a business person, but those who want to participate. And they told us point back, well, we like the program. This is the king of the local chief. But I don't think our youth are into this. And they were right. So we had to go import people. Months later, a couple of 1 year later, the youth were coming around and saying, why didn't you employ us? Or why didn't you? But again, the offer is still on the table. If you want to participate, this is why we are here. Not because we're trying to whatever. So, and we're going to invest everything that we are making in the community, in that community, based on the strategies that we discussed. So again, this is an intention to develop the community. I'm a civil engineer initially. That's what I do. That's what some of us do. So that's our own approach.
Thank you very
Thank you,
much.
Bayo.
Yes.
I do have another question here that has come in from Dr. Ashik Medugu. Certainly wishing to appreciate Bayo for your wonderful and educative presentation. The question is, how do we make agriculture profitable in view of the fact that agriculture inputs, improved seeds, fertilizer, farm labor, insecticide, etc., are very expensive, while farm gate prices are very low?
You touched on a very sore subject for me, a very important subject. Again, I feel, and that's a very valid problem. And without solving what you just said, we're all just wasting our time. The financial intermediaries, the purpose of finance is to be able to help us allocate financial resources. Who makes what money? Who doesn't make what much money? So if it's lopsided, one side of the equation will die and not develop, which is what you're saying, and one side will try to reap all the benefits of the farmers in this case. And the side that is trying to reap all the benefits will eventually lose when the farmer can't provide. So what we are doing is, within our ecosystem, this is why the community approach is huge. We intend to redistribute the allocation of those resources. Who makes what and how much they make by some of the strategies that we're bringing to the table. So farm gate prices, yes, are low. Last 2 years ago, we sold our cassava for peanuts. And the processors, so we didn't have processing yet. The processors were going to buy it at about less than 30% of what we thought we should be selling it. And they all came together. So so the next year, nobody plants cassava and they're going to not be in business. This is true. So we're saying if we co-locate, we can control some of that within the ecosystem. For example, the tractor owner, we are part of the tractor owner, we're using that tractor strategy to control the pricing. The tractor owner will say, I have to charge X prices. We're saying, look, you charge X times 100 acres, we're giving you 1,000 acres, we need you to charge 70% X and you still make more. You don't want it? Fine, we use that tractor. So we need to come ourselves as a community and be able to allocate those resources so that people in the ecosystem that you've created can be sustainable and make good profit. That's kind of what we're trying to do. That's what I feel the community approach. A community could be that 3,000 acres, but then you have the virtual part of the community, the people who are buying outside because you have a platform that you link to. They might be in Lagos or in Houston, like my other friend, or in 4 continents, like my seed investors, who have vested interest. Some of them will build, and we're saying, look, this is the timing of your revenue. This is the timing of your ROI. We can come in and restructure that to make sure that the ecosystems become profitable. You leave it to somebody who's coming from abroad, from Igbo, they don't understand what you're dealing with, and they have their own interests, not yours. That's my response to that.
Thank you, engineer. We do have Kolawale also, who has joined us on the panelists to ask question or to also make a contribution to your topic?
Thank
Welcome.
you, Nicola, for joining. I appreciate you.
Yeah, thank you, the moderator. Out of the presentation made by Engineer Bayo, I could see that the pilot program that is currently going on, the location is at Odeda, and I believe Odeda is part of Ogun State, currently Ogun State, Nigeria. My question is, are there plans in the pipeline to duplicate this pilot project in other locations, either within the Western Nigeria, Eastern Nigeria, or Northern Nigeria? A case in point, some of these fairly agriculturally stable localities. In Oyo State, we have places like Egbeda. Egbeda is between Ibadan and Ife. And I believe we have several other locations like that too, which are more or less semi-urban, where getting the youths within the environment on the program might not be all that difficult, because they are more or less exposed to some elements of modern life, so that even those who might want to invest in this pilot project will know that, yes, what has been done at Odeda, we can pull resources together, finances, ideas, input, and then replicate in another location, replicate in another. I know it may take time, but this is one of the things we just want to know so that we can develop our plans and focus along that line. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Arolo. I appreciate the question. Yes, what we step out to do is to, we have engineers that they finally show up. What we're here to do is create a repeatable reusable model. That's our first intent. So yes is the answer to all of your questions. From Safari's standpoint, we can't take a boil the ocean approach. We have to be strategic in our growth. So as we see locations, we collect information, we analyze and see what is next in our step. So yes is the answer in short, and those are some of the areas that we're looking at. We're looking at Wasimi. We're going to go, my other friend that one of our board is doing something in, what's the state? Kogi State. So, but we will share ideas for others who want to replicate the model. And there are many components of the model. Some people are already doing something. We will align with them. We will work with them wherever we have a core competence. We'll try to work. But for now, we are just at one location and we're starting 2 this year, and hopefully a 3rd next year. But yes is the answer to your question. Engineer Jelade, welcome.
Yes, please. Thank you. Can you hear me?
We can hear you and we can see your screen dancing all over the place.
Okay. I'm actually on the road and network is fluctuating.
Okay. That's all right.
I'm not, I don't expect that I would, I'm not going to be sharing a screen. I was actually hoping to join as to answer questions, because I'm the one who is right here and is seeing everything. So you can ask me questions for whatever you think you don't quite understand, or to kind of buttress the things that Bayo has said. About this,
sure.
About this,
No, thank you. We certainly appreciate you joining us and willingness to offer your expertise. I do have a number of other questions coming in, Engineer. I'm going to go ahead and read them. The first one is from Aminu Aliyu, and this is his first time joining in the webinar for PEEF and PVT. His question is, or his statement is, agriculture farming will go a long way in preferring solutions to myriads of problems bedeviling Nigeria, ranging from insecurity, unemployment, poverty, among others. His question is, why is it that there is no deliberate effort that farming and agricultural businesses are not taught, practiced as a profession, and not as a subject at primary, secondary school levels? Why is it that farming and agriculture is seen as a business for those that have either not gone to school or no work?
Okay. I can take that, or if Engineer Ojade wants to take it as well. I can take it. I can start, Engineer Ojade can add. Yes. You are asking a question that made us want to do what we're doing. And we feel that by showing example, maybe we start to attract others. And by trying to solve some of the problems that are in the industry and taking them as opportunity, the ones that we can solve, it will start to attract others. If you look at the first slide of my slides, the lady in that tractor is the person you're looking at on the screen now, Engineer Ojade. And so it's unusual to find a woman in the tractor in Nigeria, and she's going to drive one. She doesn't have to, but if we're going to lead, we're going to have to lead by showing examples. My chairman is also, I didn't share his picture, they're going to drive. So if we start to lead in that fashion, maybe that will help. And that will also help us to be able to focus on, understand the issues and start to solve it. It's unbelievable that we have no weeding implements that I've seen anywhere in the country, apart from the hand tractors. And it's available everywhere in the world. Anyways, that's my response. Hopefully that answered your question. I don't know if Engineer Ojade wants to add anything. I think she's frozen. That's fine. So
yeah, I know. Sometimes our network issues can be a challenge.
Yeah.
We do have the poll questions that have been coming in. So I was hoping perhaps maybe you can speak to the polling responses to the polling questions while some of our folks are also getting ready to jump on. We can certainly end the poll. Yep, there we go.
Okay. So should I share it or just read it out? I can share
sure, you can share it. Yes.
Okay.
Right.
Yes. Let me share my screen. One second. Okay. Okay, I think I can share now. Share my screen. Okay, so thanks for those who have answered the poll. Do you consider agriculture as a potential remedy for addressing the current economic struggles and widespread youth unemployment that our communities face today? I see 24 responses and they're 100%, everybody agrees. I would agree with them. Okay, will you consider investing in agriculture in any way? And you actively, yes, actively by owning or partnering on a farm. We have a 92% resounding, that's high. Yes, passively by investing funds for an existing facility to 8%. I want to talk about this 8%, but sometimes when I hear the word absentee farmer, I hear the word, that's a friend of mine who called them lecky farmers. To me, those are financing opportunities. They're ready to invest their money in there. They're looking for ways to invest. You work with them, and I know there are several models out there that people are trying to do that. Let them come together, let them aggregate their efforts, and they may be able to render a service that is even more sustainable and more profitable for everybody that is involved. What area of agriculture would you rather participate in or invest in? Production, processing, marketing? Again, 71% is production. That's really great. And we need all of these people to participate. We need them to be talking to each other. We need them to collaborate. And that's the only way that we can be successful and create large entities that can compete in the market. Do you agree that the community approach to agribusiness is indispensable? 75% says yes, 71% says yes, 25% says somewhat agree, and 4% says do not agree. I'll be interested to hear from the 4% and the 25% some of their thoughts and comments, and even from the 71% who agree. But the dissenters, not that it will be interesting to know why, so that maybe it's something that we have to address as we go forward, or maybe they have other thoughts of how they feel we can get this done through agriculture. What would you invest time, effort, or financial resources in creating a community approach to agriculture to stimulate job creation and youth agripreneur? 79% says yes, they would. That's very nice to hear. Some of them, 17 says maybe, and 4 says not really. Again, it would be nice to hear from everybody that's polled. Also, especially those who said no or not really. What are their thoughts? There's no, it's just a question. If some of what you say may help make this industry better, make this ecosystem better, and we'll be happy to hear from everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the results of the poll. Thank you.
You know, I was wondering, you know, I was having a conversation, engineer, with one of my colleagues, and we were talking about people who want to participate in this agribusiness or in the agriculture space. You mentioned earlier other ways that folks can get involved. And in many parts of our country, Nigeria, we have folks who may not necessarily have the skills and may not necessarily have the resources directly, but many times people have, like you said, they have inheritance property like land, huge parcels of land. And sometimes they're just sitting there and nobody's using it. And they could be a real asset, even if they don't plan to use them directly. How can they partner or at least reach out to perhaps interested individuals who may be able to work with them to use that fertile land, you know, for production, and also, you know, maybe earn some passive income while doing that?
Yes. So we like to hear from landowners. We are always looking for land. Again, we're just starting, but things are moving in the right direction for us. You hit all on the right notes. Those are some of the targets. Without the land, you can't hunt, right? So there are big investors, and we could create win-win arrangements. There are strategies around that. Also, again, we're not looking to be a monopoly. If you have somebody in the area, if you have investors, or if you have people that want to farm, some of what we've discussed also can open your eyes to that. Even if you're not giving us the land, we may be able to even provide information or some other things like a platform that can help this go on faster. Engineer Jalade, if you want to add to that, you can. I don't know if you're hearing or if you can't.
Yes, I can hear you. And essentially, that's what you said. The main thing is to have these parcels of land in one place. So if we have a large parcel, that is going to help us in the mechanization. And where we don't have a large parcel, if you can get people that have adjoining land motivated enough to allow us to join in a contiguous parcel of land, that is going to be much more helpful. There is really no way you can do this mechanization of the land except they are together. When the land are just 1 or 2 acres, and I think it's just essentially the mindset of the typical maybe Nigerian man who doesn't want to partner with people. So you have 2, 3 people close to each other, but they don't want to work together.
Yeah. So I think you're breaking.
I know we're losing her. I can see she's going in and out. I can see that she's going in and out of potholes.
So yeah. So if I can finish some of what she said, and you're going in and out.
It's okay. I think I've muted her, so maybe you can go on.
Exactly. So part of what she said is, and this alludes to what Engineer Abdullah also said. Look, we're not looking to displace anybody. One way or the other, we just want to create
things together. We are really not going there.
Yeah. Okay.
Go ahead.
Yeah. Okay. But just to cut that long story short is that we benefit if there are people who are willing to farm, that we can help and we can provide certain services. So you have the land, we can aggregate land that way. And those who are already farming means they are interested in farming. So what services can we or others provide, either through our strategies, either through their own resources, it could be local farmer. I mean, so we are willing to provide information and work with people. We just want things to happen.
Excellent. We have Mr. Balogun that has joined the conversation as well.
Okay, Mr. Balogun, thanks for joining.
Thank you, Engineer Bayo, for the presentation. A very big issue that affects us as Nigerians is security. Now, for your farm or any other farmer, what would be your suggestion how to creatively tackle the issue of security and as it affects agriculture? Thank you.
So thanks for that question. It's a big thing. Without a good security situation, you are not going to make anything out of the farm. But does that mean we should all starve? No. So we thought about this, we read, we researched, and we tried. We have pretty much, the short version is, one of the reasons, big reasons where we have security issues, there's security with herdsmen, there's security, it's a huge political issue, there's security with just even local preferring, staff preferring, and all of that. We feel that if the community approach begins to address some of that problem, it doesn't solve it if you are not by yourself. If you are in a larger community, most of the people who are impacted the most are by themselves. So they can target you and they can take you out. Whether it's your staff stealing from you or whether it's the herd situation, that situation, it's the same thing. So we feel, don't do things by yourself, create your community. Now, if engineer is there, you can give specific examples of how we try to deal with ours and how we got lucky, but that lucky may be information. We were thinking we're going to build a light fence across, that's going to be miles, but it's a light fence, and then amortize it and distribute the cost as a service to the farmers. One farmer cannot do it, but you can, if you have funding and if you have trust of the investor, you might be able to build a light fence for the hard situation. Yes, and we will still do that. We have some other less physical things that happened where in that situation, I think the first 3 years we got wiped almost out by cows, and the next few years we've had peace. We work with the local herd people community, the leadership. We work with them, but that didn't solve all of the problem. They wanted to work with us, but they couldn't control. They're not Nigerian police, right? So we got lucky and we had a policeman that was a neighbor on the farm, and they were eating his things as well. And then he had to take action. And so you get them arrested and there's nobody to bribe, right? So that helped that situation to get rid of it. Well, maybe you should design that into your community and make sure you have some of the law enforcement as part of your farmers. They also are looking for extra income. Maybe there's a win-win. So again, we don't have a foolproof, bulletproof solution, but working together, creating community goes a million times ways. If somebody is stealing your cassava in the community and the community owns that farm, by the time they deal with him, you just be hearing that we've dealt with it. But if it's just you, then you are just a target. So that's some of the advantages that the way we see it. And
Engineer Bayo, can you stop your presentation? It looks like your presentation is still showing. It looks like we're definitely approaching towards the end of, we've actually approached the end of this session. This has been such a wonderful presentation, and our participants continue to really gain a lot from this. We've been receiving a lot of feedback from folks. I know we do have, there are some additional folks who have raised their hands, so I'm gonna take at least 1 or 2 last questions here so that we can try to wrap this thing up with some final closing statement from our executive secretary as well. but I just included one or two people here that would love to say a few words, if that's okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
There we go. So if you've been added to the screen, please go ahead. We have Aminu Aliyu here, and then we have Oluwafemi Malik. Would you like to say a few words, gentlemen?
Yes, I would actually. This is Oluwafemi Kessington speaking, Oluwafemi Malik. I want to ask a question about the business model in light of these days of climate change. What does your business model do to accommodate that? Because we know that large. How do you address that with your business model?
How do we address what? I lost the question.
Oh, sorry, I probably was on mute. Good afternoon. I said that in these days of climate change,
Yes,
your business model seems to advocate this mechanized farming where it seems like you either have monocropping or mixed cropping, whatever it is. But these mechanized farms have been shown to not have a long-term benefit for the environment. How do you incorporate sustainability, climate change mitigation into your business model?
I think the truth is I've heard a lot about sustainability and all that. While we are looking to incorporate some sustainability strategies into our processes, I think the first thing we are looking at is post-survival strategy. How do we survive and provide opportunity for the local area? And then we'll look at sustainability. For example, and I can say this, it's just because maybe it's a coincidence. So yes, maybe we remove trees, but we are talking about live fence. So we talked about planting more trees around the fence to create the boundary. So we're moving the trees around, but again, it's more of survival strategy. Sustainability is a little bit, unfortunately for at least personally, it's not the top priority. Now, fertilizer chemical use, yes, we're bringing in mechanical equipment to weed instead of using fertilizers to weed. It wasn't because of sustainability, but it's part of the sustainability because I don't have labor and I think chemicals are too expensive and I need to figure out how to reduce the cost to my farmers. That's why, not because of sustainability. So again, we're doing some things that we'll be happy to, that the sustainability person will be happy for that we're doing, but we're doing it because of survival.
Thank you for being open and candid about that. Thank you.
Thank you.
And I'm assuming too, this is probably an area where, like you said, I know you've been opening up this your organization to folks who may be interested in speaking with you further on how, if they have ideas, how we can introduce this, sustainability into our current system, right?
Exactly.
As little as it is. So I'm
absolutely. And
Malik, if you're interested, please reach out to Engineer Bayo. If you have some thoughts and ideas, I'm sure he would love to hear from you too, directly.
Absolutely. I appreciate that. Yes, you're very right, Ahmed.
Thank you.
Aminu Aliyu, is it Alhaji or Mr. or Doctor? You're on mute.
I said all of the above.
No, okay. Excellent.
Well,
please,
actually, I have something to say. Engineer, your presentation is wonderful and everything is fine and good. There was a question that I raised earlier on.
Yes.
And what I wanted to add is that I believe in one phrase, catch them young. So this issue of, we believe that we have a kind of natural endowment. It's an endowment factor when it comes to the issue of agriculture in Africa and Nigeria in particular.
Yes.
And I don't think there's any reason why we have issues of unemployment, poverty, and whatever, if we have that kind of asset in our area. So, and someone asked a question that there should be a kind of a grant given to graduates when they finish school to go on for agriculture. Instead of waiting for them to graduate, why wouldn't you catch them young at the elementary level, let's say secondary school level? Because if you are finding work, you don't even need to go to college. You don't need to go to university. You can set up your farm, whether mechanized or not. So there's a need for the review of our educational curriculum. Let it be geared towards development, a kind of bottom-up approach.
Yes.
So that all these kind of agricultural practices to start from the primary school, secondary school. By the time you finish your secondary school at the age of 18 or let's say 20 years, you can be able to set up your own farm and business. And it will go a long way in solving this issue of poverty, insecurity, unemployment, whatever. And imagine in Africa, we are saying that we should have at least 15 million metric tons of rice to feed Africa. And just last year, they said that Nigeria produced almost 7 million.
Yes.
Imagine with the insecurity plus the pandemic, we are producing 7 million. What about if there's a deliberate effort from the government, from federal, state, and the local authorities, deliberate effort from the community, and also deliberate effort from people like you guys, then we can even feed the entire Africa or the entire world. That is rice aside. Despite we have Boko Haram in the northeast, pandemic, banditry, whatever, but we're able to produce 7 million metric tons. Just last year, between 2019 to 2021 January. And we need 50 million. The entire Africa and Nigeria is producing 7 million, despite the problems.
Absolutely. You made absolutely great points. If I'm scoring this, I will make it about 101%. If Engineer Jana is online, I would like her to comment some of the outreaches that you said. She's doing this through her point in all the 6 geopolitical zones. Are you there? And you want to talk to this about Engineer Jana, or do you want me to respond? That's why she won an award at Harvard for this subject. We are hoping to leverage her experience in this area to give outreach. It's a win-win situation where we start catching them young, but we're not, hopefully we'll get, Safari Cities will get there. So when we have the implements, things that we now say, look, this is how we want agriculture of the future to be. We're going to tag into what APWEN is doing, and we're looking to work with them to reach the 6 geopolitical zones that they already are reaching.
Thank you. I know Engineer Ojelade is having network issues, so she will not be able to. No.
Yes.
Thank you for your response, and thank you, Aminu, for your contribution too.
You're welcome.
Tawfiq, are you still with us?
Yes. Hello. Hi.
Hi, welcome. Thank you.
Thank you. This is Tawfiq. Thanks, Bayo and Fumi. I can recognize the face from Ife. I think I'm going to connect with the two of you later. Yeah, it's quite interesting. I would call myself also a diaspora farmer or agro-business as well. Interesting. One major thing that I see is in terms of infrastructure. Infrastructure in terms of transportation, connecting inland farmers to the mainstream, electric, and some other infrastructure issues, because I face that on a daily basis on what I do. I'm partly into the palm oil business as well, and some other related agro-business. What do you see in terms of solving this big issue? Do you see a role in terms of public-private partnership as one of the solutions, or there are some other innovative means of cracking this? It's a very major problem, because I remember as a young guy growing up in Nigeria, when we used to go on vacation to my village in Okeogun, we used to see a lot of wastages around PVT and some other areas. We pass, you see oranges and so many, and we wonder what's happening to all this. How can all these things from the hinterlands and some other areas get to places where they are really needed? How can we solve this? Over to you, Bayo.
I think thank you so much for the question, and thank you for the creative hookup. Look, we don't profess to have solution to everything, but we saw that issues too, and that impacted the design that we brought to the table, at least to mitigate some of those issues of wastages and processing on site. But I feel more importantly, it's the use and eyes that if we get involved and engaged as we are able to, if we create an awareness where we can create a win-win situation. Everything is not always all money, and start to create these communities. Those communities either solve some of the problems internally. I'm not shipping my raw material. The first year we ship our raw materials, we lost about 50 or 60% of the sales in just transport. So we're saying we're going to have to find a way to bring dual traffic to that land and help us create processing facilities so that to reduce the waste. But I believe that if some of these entities start to grow, you can hopefully start to assert influence around your neighborhood, around your community, and people get listened to. When you either go even to the government, you are bringing in this taxable revenue base that is more than just you, that's 1,000 people. You might get to start to listen to, and you might get to be able to get some of these things solved. Things like power, really, that should be private sector. We should be able to buy solar and bring whatever we need to bring. It's $100 a piece. 1,000 of us will bring 1,000 solars and figure out a way to monetize that. So I think a combination of this will help. I don't know how far it's going to go, but we just have to start. That's the reason why we started a couple of years ago. I mean, that's really all I have to answer that.
Thank you so much. Bye.
Thank you, Tawfiq. And again, we've reached. I think it's always difficult to end these conversations because it gets very interesting. It's always sweetest towards the end. So I'd like to thank you so much. But before we end, I would like to invite Dr. Rabi Musa, who is the Executive Secretary for the PEEF organization, to give us a couple of remarks, and we'll take this to the end of the program for this month. Dr. Musa, are you still with us? Looks like we might be experiencing some challenge. Then perhaps Engineer Abdallah, are you still there?
Yes.
Oh, okay,
no,
perfect.
no, I'm here. Ahmed.
Thank you.
Okay. I was trying to get the video. All right. Thank you very much, Ahmed, and colleagues. This has been for me a very exciting session, and we would like to appreciate our subject matter experts.
We apologize. I know this network issues can be quite challenging when we're doing these calls. I'm sure, Bayo, you have the same experience, especially when you're talking to
very experience. Of course, hello, can you hear me?
You are actually cutting off.
Hello,
Doctor.
can you hear? Okay, so that's network.
I don't know if our engineer is
so
still
we
with
have
us.
I think the objective of it's in line with our objective in PEEF to ensure that we focus on how we add value to the economy. And our Board of Trustees comment at the beginning of this session that which is energy sector. I also have some background there that you need to run an economy and to workforce. So focusing on the agricultural sector is funding the economy, right? But also in terms of ensuring that we grow our GDP indigenously, because I listen to Bayo so many times referring to, we need to do it ourselves and not rely on government, not rely on support. But if we are to rely on world organizations, then we are not really maximizing what we have in this country. So the focus of PEEF on agriculture is to ensure that we are experts have really shown that it's something that we can do, and some of us are doing it. It's one of them and others. So I think we have achieved the objective of creating that awareness. But beyond that, I talked about the finance, machinery, technology. I think that point is very, very germane to the success of what we want to achieve. The experience of safari cities in the last 5 years, it's something that we should study, but also there are many more that we can bring and also replicate the good practices across Nigeria and Africa. So we have been in this workshop, in this PEEF now, in the last 2 hours. We might have interest, like Dr. Taufik Ashiru said, he can connect immediately with the 2 of the persons we have on this panel. But how many of us are interested in investing, even if it's on a small scale? Yeah? Engineer Banji Adetona shows he has some experience in doing this already. So how do we scale up if we are going to start? So if we are interested, please indicate, because one of our objectives is to begin to gather the critical mass that will go into this, and then increase over time the good practices that also for PEEF, if you are interested in joining PEEF, after each of these PEEF virtual talks, we have a virtual platform where those who are interested in sector issues are then enlisted in conversation. We got about and we I just monitored, I think we also that were in, which is good, because we need those really who are interested to stay in. Our country is going through an interesting period, and it's not the number, but it's the quality of those who are focusing on it that matters. And I believe we have that. We have achieved that in this session. So on behalf of the management of PEEF, I would like to thank you all for creating time to be part of this session. As we have discussed with Engineer Bayo, we might be having another session to wrap up things, and that will be communicated. Once again, thank you. And of course, all the participants in this session. Thank you and God bless. Ahmed, over to you.
All right, thank you, Dr. Musa. I appreciate those closing remarks. Again, as I mentioned in the early part of this presentation, if you have registered for these this particular event, you'll certainly be sent an email with the link to this this recording of this presentation. It's also been streaming live on YouTube. If you would like to visit our website, www.peef-sdg.org, you can also learn more information about PEEF and how to participate, and also how to be included in our membership. We have a number of different exciting topics across sectors coming up in the future, such as health, education, and other areas as well, oil and gas, so many different wonderful and amazing topics. We've got a great list of speakers, both local and international, that will be joining us on these events. So once again, Engineer Bayo, thank you so much for your presentation today. And I'm hoping that folks who have participated in today's program will be able to reach out to you directly through your contact information so that they can engage you further in this area of agriculture and agribusiness, specifically with the focus on community involvement. Thank you very much, everyone, and have a great rest of your afternoon. And for you, Engineer Bayo, have a good rest of the morning, or night, I should say.
Thank you all. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Ahmed and Dr. Musa. Thank you for organizing this and making it happen. We appreciate you.
Thank you, Engineer
Engineer
Abdullah, as well.
Thank you very much. Thank you. It's been a fantastic event, and we thank you all very much. As the ES said, well done.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. All right, everyone, have a good day.
You too.
Thank you very much.